Hello everybody and welcome back to the Decan Walk videos. Today's video is Sagittarius One. So we are saying goodbye to Scorpio season and entering into Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a fire sign and it is mutable, and we'll get to all of that after. And we will be changing the cards out and all that stuff. Right now, I'll kind of recap how the Seven of Wands came in for me. Pretty much for me, it was just about a lot of choices. And it was weird how it reflected in, like, personally in my personal life, but also in like my clients and different things like that happened, right? So what I mean by that is, like, my clients wanted to know options. They wanted to know what packages I had, the different things that were available to them, their options on, like time frames, if they could make longer appointments, if they could add different elements into things. So it was really interesting because a lot of the time it was just about talking about what packages I have available and what they're interested in doing, right? So it came across like that, where it was a lot of sharing of like the different things that I do here and giving people options of what they can do. And the other aspect of it was, for me, just like a lot of options. We went on a day trip, and we had to decide exactly what we were going to do and what we weren't going to do. And we had to make choices according to that. We had, like things like right down to like where we're going to eat, where we're going to shop, where we're going to go. Are we going to go here? Are we going to go over there? Are we going to stay over here? Like, there was so many options available, and we had to sit down and kind of map our way, right? And then there was other options, like at home. It was like options of placing things or fixing things or how I want it to look, or painting and changing colors. What colors do I want? How do I want to change my space? Different things like that, right? So, like, there was a lot of choices. What deck, I was in the middle of changing out my decks, right? What decks do I want to work with? What kind of energy do I want to bring in for November, going into Yule, right? Into December, which will then change things up probably again. And it's like November's this weird space where, like, you're leaving the Halloween energy, and then you're going into the winter solstice Yule energy, and there's not that much time in between, or anyways, it feels like there's not that much time. So it's kind of hard to pick a deck to fill in the November space, because you're kind of already starting to feel the winter solstice, the Christmas, Yule energy. I mean, because everything is already music, colors, lights, functions that all relate to around Christmas and Yule already, right? So it's a weird space to be in. But of course, that's what makes it mutable, right? So I mean, it makes sense. Um, it just came across with a lot of different options, ways to take care of myself, things to do, things, you know, where we were, like I said, in that trip, like where we were going to go, what we were going to do. We were going to get massages, we were going to get pedicures, manicures. Like, what were we doing? Were we going shopping at our favorite witchy store? Were we going to try somewhere new? Like, just a lot of different stuff. And the interesting aspect of death to me, it's a personal level, so I can't really get into it. But let's just say there is someone who's really important in my life that had an aha moment, and it's really going to change a lot of paths moving forward for a lot of people involved. And it'll be interesting to see how this changes and what this does. So just a lot of choices. Honestly, that's how it came across in my life, was just a lot of choices, which, I mean, I'm very decisive. I have no problems making choices, so it worked for me. And I like having options, so I was good. All right, let's get in here and let's look at the new energy. We're going to say goodbye to the Death card, the Seven of Cups, and the Empress. They're gone now. And we are welcoming in the Magician, the Eight of Wands, and Temperance. And then here's our Hermetic Tarot cards down below. We're going to give these a switch out. And then our planetary influence, we've got Mercury, which is crazy because we're in Mercury retrograde. So kind of goes hand in hand, eh? And then these don't change. These are all staying the same for a little bit. So this is like the personalities and the attitudes and different things like that that we can tap into during this time that we're going to encounter. Like I said, this is like those extra energies that we can tap into if we want to understand the Decan a little bit more, right? So I feel like when I look at that, I feel like, Ace of Cups, like there's been a lot of good stuff that's been coming forward and happening. Page of Cups for me, there's been a lot of youthful energy around me. There's been a lot of young faces coming in, and different things. And this is actually pertaining to the one situation that I was talking about with the Death card. That person falls into that category of the Page of Cups to me as well. And that King of Wand energy is just like that passion, that focus, that determination going into something, you know, I feel like that's been kind of a big aspect as well too. So definitely feeling these little energies over here as part of these decans as well. All right, let's get in here. Let's start reading about things. Then we'll visit Susan's book like we usually do. Okay, so we're going to start out with the Stars Divine up at the top. And that gives us all of our astrological information that we need. So let's read about Sagittarius. All right, so Sagittarius. Forever the explorer, Sagittarius expands its horizons. Learning and traveling are important to this witty philosopher. This fiery sign is both student and teacher. A little mischief adds to the fun of this big-spirited seeker of truth. Ooh, very interesting. I like it. All right, we know what the mutable is, but we'll go back over it just to kind of refresh everyone's memory. All right, so our mutable signs as Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. Mutable signs end the season. Gemini is the late spring, Virgo is the late summer, Sagittarius is the late fall, and Pisces is late winter. During these periods, the upcoming season can be sensed. This gives these signs a flexible, adaptable quality. 100%, it snowed today, and my lights are on because it's overcast, so you're going to get a little bit of shine going on up here. I'm sorry about that. But it was today we had flurries, and it was insane, and I was like, whoa, here's the snow. It's going to start coming. And our Sagittarius is a fire element. So we've got Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius are in that. Fire represents passion, desire, ambition, and the spark of energy that is life. It seeks to express and be seen. Creative, confidence, warmth, and inspiration are fiery energies. Due to its activity, it is enthusiastic and optimistic. All right. Yep. Well, there's our stuff going on here. Let's read about Mercury. Well, the book is out. Let's read about Mercury. Why not, right? All right, Mercury, the messenger, is the planet of communication, thinking, and intelligence. Its primary focus are ideas, concepts, and sharing of information. It is both teacher and student. Technology, wit, rationality, logic are its allies. Interesting that we've got both the student and teacher in Sagittarius and in Mercury. So like we've got that student and teacher combination energy happening pretty strong, right? So we've got it in two separate cards, which is it's going to be interesting, right? And I've already got something else coming through that we'll talk about when we get to it. But I'm just like, oh man, here we go. I can see it. All right, so let's get into the book here and let's read a little bit about what Susan T. Chang has seen in this decan, or what she's experienced, or the things that she's noticed, right? All right, so she starts with the Eight of Wands, we arrive at the first decan of Sagittarius, the sign of the archer and the great centaur teacher of heroes, Chiron. In tarot, the minor cards of Sagittarius are 8, 9, and 10 of Wands. I have always found these particularly at a metaphorical level. The Eight of Wands is the speed of the arrow. The Nine of Wands is the strength of the archer. The greater the strength, the further the flight. And the Ten of Wands is the striking of the target, the decisive thunk when the arrow sinks into its bullseye. Together, the speed, strength, and strike depicted in these cards form a picture of determination and deadly accuracy at a distance. While many tarot cards bear alchemical references, Temperance is the card of alchemy. In the Thoth deck, it is called art, because alchemy has long been known among its practitioners as the art, or the great work. On the Thoth card behind the alchemist angel, we can make out the alchemist motto, Vitriol. Often we assume temperance means moderation, which is not inaccurate. Finding the middle way is an intricate part of temperance, but moderate does not mean average. The great work is not the work of trying to be mediocre. It is the work of traveling to one's own heights and depths, exploring the light and shadow, expanding the self into its own extremes. In the same way that one tempers a sword by plunging it into white hot fire and then ice cold water. That's why on the tree of life, the path of temperance runs between the sun and the moon, hot and cold, celestial opposites. To be tempered is to be tried and tested, pushed to one's limits and brought back. In cooking, when we temper food, we work with the physical opposites. We take substance to the extreme ends of what they can tolerate and then guide them safely back to the middle. We introduce a little cold into the hot and a little hot into the cold, a little dense into the light and a little light into the dense. And then she goes on to talk about, in my own experiences, the Eight of Wands has been among the most literal of cards, heralding all manner of postal activities. It's common to me to have a visitation of the Eight of Wands and an Amazon Prime truck. Now, it is true that we all order a lot online these days, but it is also true that there's a dark side to the acceleration of delivery and communication. Warehouse workers enduring modern day wage slavery, the polarization of discourse, the spread of hate speech, and the loss of competition. In the Eight of Wands, Mercury's speed combines with Sagittarius' great range to shrink distances and shorten time. But his virtues here are moral, they are vital. It is up to us to see the powerful ability as a weapon of destruction or as a boon to humanity. And then she says, I see you, Twitter. And then I'm going to skip ahead. I get the Eight of Wands slightly more often than average. In the years I've been tracking cards, it is precedented over trips by planes, trains, and automobiles, the return of lost items, the Muslim ban airport protests, dozens of in-person and online conversations, thousands of written words, not to mention the time in October 2016 that I got the idea to launch a tarot podcast. It has heralded the 2020 Zoom era, where we all became used to online meetings. More than anything else, though, the Eight of Wands has brought me mail, letters, packages, emails, and parcel deliveries. And I got it the day I watched the movie Mitty, starring Ben Stiller. I mention it because I drew two zodiacal consecutive cards that day, the Seven of Cups and the Eight of Wands, and it was a strikingly opposite illustration of that sequence. Walter Mitty, if you don't know, was a character who lives in escapist fantasies, imagining himself as a heroic savior of damsels, a diffuser of bombs, a stopper of crimes, etc. And she's saying the Seven of Cups energy. In the movie version, this failure to stay rooted in reality has a dreadful effect on his romantic life. It is only by taking a real life trip to Antarctica, the Eight of Wands, and interaction with real life dangers and real life problem solvings that his true heroic self can emerge. When you get the Eight of Wands, chances are that thoughts and ideas, goods and services are on the move. It is a good time to reach out to people you've been meaning to contact and send off things you've been meaning to mail. You can also expect long-awaited answers and anticipated packages to show up. If Mercury's in retrograde, you have an excellent chance to find lost things. So look again in places you could swear you've already checked 8 times. Finally, if the Eight of Wands is to deliver, it will deliver swiftly or not at all. Don't agonize, brood, labor, or wait for anticipated news or stuff. If you have a light bulb moment, act quickly. The blessing of this card is real, but fleeting. And then, as usual, she closes out with a little poem. All right, so I have a whole lot to say about this. Obviously, right now, it's the time of people to be shopping, buying online, getting packages delivered, getting ready for Christmas, shopping, even sending out their Christmas packages so that they're not getting messed into getting lost in the whole mess of the postal services. Us in Canada, our postal service is on strike right now. We have no delivery through Canada Post. They are not accepting anything. So that's where I wanted to say something earlier is we've got this postal delivery energy that she talks about in the Eight of Wands, and we have Mercury, which is about communication and deliveries and postal stuff as well, right? Like in the picture, he's actually holding a letter, right? So I'm wondering what's going to happen with the Canada Post strike that's happening. Maybe they'll come to an agreement and settle, or maybe it'll be like this, where it's pushed, where we're looking at temperance and it's being pushed to the limits. There's so much stuff that can happen here, and my mind is just like, oh, there's so much possibilities, right? Um, the other thing that really interested me about the whole entire everything was talking about temperance. See, when you look at temperance in the RW card, I get that very much like ebb and flow, that harmony, restoring harmony, that balance, right? But when you look at it in the Hermetic Tarot's card, that feeling of alchemy becomes much more obvious. And I feel like the RW card kind of misses that point for me. Whereas here, and we'll get a chance to look up it up close, it literally looks like someone just mixing elements all together and making a potions and creating something, right? So really quite an interesting Decan, and just a different way to look at these cards. It's really cool, and I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. And she mentions the fact in the book that if you're in Mercury RX, you might be finding stuff that's lost, which is awesome because we are in Mercury RX. And the first thing I did was my mind started scrambling, like, what did I lose? What am I looking for? What am I trying to find? Is there something that I haven't been able to find? And nothing comes to mind. So we'll see what that is. I'm trying to think if I misplaced something or trying to locate something, and I don't feel like I'm looking for anything, not on a physical level anyways. I didn't replace, I'm not missing jewelry. I'm not missing a deck or trying to find. So it'll be interesting to see how that all comes about. And it might not even apply to me because I'm not, I don't have anything missing, right? So we'll see how that is. And it might not even be on the physical aspect, right? It might be mentally, it might be emotionally, it might be financially. I mean, who knows, right? So really an interesting energy that's coming across, and such a different way of looking at all of this. And I think that once again is that teacher student thing coming in, right? There's so much here that I've never dived into and I never even thought about. I've never seen temperance as an alchemical card in the RW, right? So it's really interesting to see how these two sitting against each other, the difference in the vibe, right? So really, really quite cool. As usual, super interesting to me anyways. And yeah, so let's get in here. Let's read about these cards. We've read about the magician in the past before, but we have not visited temperance and we have not read about the Eight of Wands. So I think I'm going to take the time to read about these two, but I think we've already kind of visited the magician. But you know what? Maybe we'll just refresh our minds a little bit here. So let's read about the magician. All right, the Magician, the Magus of power, Magus, whatever you want to say. The symbol of the winged mercurial crest appears at the top of the card. The snake-like creature that issues from beneath the crest are similar to those found in the caduceus held by the radiant figure of Mercury to the left of the card. The magician is seen as a communicator with the gods and the storer of knowledge which he willingly dispenses, similar to Mercury, who, in mythology, is the winged messenger of the gods. Thus, the magician, through his actions and expeditions of will, can bring unity between the divine, intellectual, and the physical world. By intelligence, the idea of God is conceived, and by willpower, works of good nature are accomplished. The altar at his feet contains the symbols of the four suits: swords, wands, represented as a dagger, cups, and the image of a pentagram on the book. There is also a burning candle and a triangular symbol for earth. The picture of Mercury appears to radiate before him. All right, so here he is. Fifth card, there we go. I just got to get it to focus there. So we've seen him in the past. We've heard about him, but there he is, just to refresh our memory. All right, now we're going to get into the Eight of Wands, so Lord of Swiftness. 4 angelic hands issue from the clouds. Each hand grasps 2 wands. Flames issue from the different points of junction. The arrow wands pertain to Sagittarius. Placed in the center at the top and bottom of the cards are the symbol of Mercury and Sagittarius. 2 small wands separated and burning also appear at the top and the bottom of the card. This card pertains to the first decan of Sagittarius, ruled by Mercury. All right, well, that's pretty straightforward, eh? Okay, let's get in here. There we go. So there's the 2 flaming wands with the symbols down here at the bottom. Then we've got all the arrows and stuff coming up. We've got the hands holding everything. And then the 2 torches at the top with the signs up here too as well. So there is our 8 of Wands. Okay, and then we've got Temperance, which I think is an amazing card. Temperance, daughter of the reconcilers. This card is the fulfillment of the card 6, the lovers. The sign of Sagittarius, the arrow, appears both at the upper left and beneath the disc in the center. The glyph of Capricorn is represented on the left and the sign of Scorpio on the right. In the upper background, a volcano erupts and its ashes form a rainbow extending towards Earth. The angel of occult wisdom wears a crown of gold and pours water from the cup into the cauldron. The leopard-faced cauldron is symbolic of fire. The fire burns along the water, and the water extinguishes the fire. Thus, fire and water mixes harmoniously, fanned by the slow circulation of air created by the slow flapping wings of the birds. To the left and right of the vessels are triangular symbols of water and fire, respectively. The marriage of fire and water is held by power of Saturn and concentrated by Mars. Thus, the glyph of Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, and Scorpio, ruled by Mars. All right, let's look at this. If any card has like an alchemical feeling, it is this card. This card is crazy. All right, there we go. We've got birds. We've got that cat cauldron. We've got water. We've got lightning. We've got the volcano erupting with a rainbow happening. There's a whole lot of crazy symbolism on this card. But see how alchemical it feels compared to the RW? Like, I feel like it's easy to think of this as, balance, harmony, ebb and flow, things equaling out, being on good, things going back into balance or working to maintain balance. Whereas this is like way different feeling. So very interesting. I've never noticed that difference in Temperance, right? And in the Thoth deck, the card art always kind of threw me off. And I was kind of like, I don't understand how this is Temperance. Now I understand how this is temperance. That makes so much sense. And it is explained so much more thoroughly by her. So yeah, like that works for me. All right, so that's the energies that's coming across. That's what's coming through. That's what's happening. We've already looked at these. We've got the King of Wands, we've got the Page of Cups, and the Ace of Cups. And none of these change right now. So these are all the same. And yeah, so that's what we're looking at. That's what's happening. So my Sagittariuses, happy birthday. I'm excited because this one has got me intrigued. It's got me curious. It's got me intrigued. I have a feeling it's going to have something to do with the postal services and the strike that's happening in Canada. I really feel we're going to see a lot happening with that. Um, and yeah, like I have a package that's supposed to be coming to me and I'm waiting for it. And I'm like, I don't know if it's going to happen. Like I backed a Kickstarter 6 months ago and it's about to start getting shipped out. And I'm just kind of like, I hope that she does not use the Canada Post system to deliver, because anyone who's in Canada that's backed this Kickstarter, if she is using Canada Post, we will not see our packages. And more than most likely, we will never see our packages. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, because I'm like, I can just see a lot of issues, right? You can see a lot of problems, but at the same time, you can see a lot of resolution as well too, and things coming to an end and you know, resolving. So I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm interesting. Like I said, I'm intrigued. I'm really interested to see how this is going to go and what's going to happen. All right, and as usual, let me get in here and I'll tell you when our next date is. All right, so we are in our Eight of Wands. So our next video will start December 1st. So I will see you guys then, and it will be the Nine of Wands, and we'll see what's going on. And that'll be the last decan with the King of Wands. And then we'll be switching out our final decan of Sagittarius. We'll be switching to the Queen of Pentacles. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves, but that will be happening. Next decan, the video will be up December 1st, and I will see you guys then. All right, so as usual, thanks for watching. Those of you who are still continuing on, there's not many of you, but I appreciate you. Like I said, I was going to be doing this for myself anyways, so I felt like I might as well just record it and see if there's anyone else out there that is doing it and, you know, wants to just kind of hear my opinion on it or how I'm understanding things or seeing things. So thank you for all those that are still following along. I hope you guys have a great decan, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Enjoy.